This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first.
He has time.
He's got him. Left side. Dobbs is there. Leaping grab. Touchdown. Touchdown.
Good morning and welcome to another edition of Ken and Ken in the Morning. I'm Ken, that's Ken, and look, that's Joe in a car. We are nothing if not highly efficient here in the morning. Speaking of highly efficient, let's check a few things. It's Thursday. I think I labeled the show as Friday. I'm trying some different things here. Yeah, I don't know if that worked the way he thought it worked, but okay. Whoops. I just tagged a guy. Okay, well, trying some new things here. Interesting. I got to share the show in one place. I forgot to share it, Ken. Anywho, where were we yesterday? We put a pin in it. Flag football. That's what we were talking about. And Broski was getting all kind of like, mad at me yesterday because somehow I was trying to beat him in an argument, which was not the case, but whatever. We're talking about the flag football in the Olympics, which is like 3 years away. And he thinks that NFL players shouldn't be in it because, they might tear an ACL, MCL kind of situation from playing flag. And my argument was, the same argument that was made for hockey, that was made for basketball, that was made for soccer, that was made for baseball, that was made for basically any sport with professional. Let's pick it up from there. So, Ken, what do you think about, is it really that massive of a risk?
To be fair to Broski, a lot of fans are worried about the injury aspect with it. Me personally, as long as it's not Jordan Love, I don't really give a shit. If one of our guys happens to get injured trying to increase the Packers brand, hey, it's the cost of doing business sometimes. But as long as you protect your absolute superstar guys, your other guys that are high profile, I don't see an issue.
Yeah, the high profile guys are obviously going to be the ones you play, right? Let's be real. They're not going to take Tyson Bagent as a starting quarterback. They're going to take Josh Allen, right? But the game is different. Like, for instance, there's no real pass rush, comparatively speaking. There's not the contact isn't there. It is a little bit of a different game. I can understand the cutting and slashing piece, but even that's going to be a little bit different than what these guys are doing in the NFL.
I think you might have to do a little more of it, being that it's flag and versus regular football. That hey, you're going to do your cut and slash and all that, but you don't have to do it such extreme because you can run over somebody here. With flag football, you got to almost be like 2-3 feet away from the guy.
Yeah, that's to say there's no trucking people. There's no running people over if you're a running back or a receiver. Good morning, Sarah. And why are you sad? Are you sad because Sam Darnold won't be the starting quarterback for Team USA? Or are you sad because now you can't have JJ?
No, it's neither of those.
That makes me a sad panda.
I mean, John,
How would you like the panda punching the puss?
I don't know. Look at it. Of all the sports that are out there, the one sport I don't know if it lends itself to being in the Olympics is American style football. Like just because of the hitting and everything else, I don't know if you could play full tackle football in the Olympics. Which remember that tournament goes over about what 2.5 weeks? Because like they'll start. The Olympics are what normally 2 weeks, right? But they'll usually start like the soccer tournament or in the basketball tournament a day or two before, so they can get the whole tournament in, right? Because it's a lot of games to play in a short period. For football, like tackle football, could you imagine playing a round robin of 3 and then elimination rounds, so possibly 5 or 6 games in a 2-week period?
Oh, I could see 3 in 2 weeks. But 5, that's too much. So that's when you're going to get some serious injuries.
Yeah. So I mean John, as much as John, who wants to be Mr. Bravado right now, saying that flag football is for sissies, there's no way you could. I could see you could play on an actual tackle football tournament in the Olympics.
See, no, Josh is trying to advocate for a month long of tackle football in the Olympics.
But no, I don't
I
think.
can see a way, like you do it like you do the World Cup, where you have qualifying. You know, not every nation in the world qualifies, and you get the qualifying down
They
to
already
like.
do that, Joe.
Yeah,
They
I know,
already
but
do Olympic qualifying like that for those tournaments. Like for basketball, hockey, soccer, they already have like the pre-qualifier tournament to get into the Olympics. But then when the Olympics come, you usually have your round robin of 3, then your elim rounds. It's not just you don't start, one and done elim rounds from day one. You have a group stage and then elimination stage. So even if you did, let's say, 2 groups of 3, 6 nations get to compete, you do your round robin elims. The top 2 from each go out. One team gets elim. You do a semi, you do a final. Okay, now you're down to 5 games in 2 weeks. But now you're only laying 8, 8 or 6 or 8 nations, 6 nations compete. It's got to be a little bit more than that. So usually they have like what? A lot of the brackets usually a bit bigger. So unless the only way you can make it happen, Joe, I think even with the pre-tourney, right? The qualify to be in the tourney, which they do, you'd have to extend, like Ken said, they have to start that Olympic tournament about 2 weeks prior to the opening ceremony.
nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
And besides that, I'm gonna go ahead and if you're gonna win the gold medal, football is a tough sport. Like if you're gonna win the gold medal, you should be able to play 5 games in 2 weeks. Like I think that's a good because the teams that you think would win the medal may not be the ones that win the medal just because injuries happen and like whoever's the toughest team is going to win.
Would you be, if you do full on tackle, you're talking 52-man rosters per country. I mean, honestly, look at other countries outside the U.S. Maybe Canada could field a team. The U.S. could obviously field a team. Well, Canada's got the CFL, so I mean they've got the pros and they've got
a resemblance of a team.
But I mean, well, look at though the gold medal game every year, every Olympics in the near term would be U.S. versus Canada. Let's be honest, because while we laugh at Canadian professional football, compare that to any other country.
I was going to say Australia, you might get it with how big they are into rugby. The transition might not be as bad.
The transition's not easy, though, and you got guys in Canada who've been playing their whole life, like you have kids in America who've been playing their whole life. Granted, hockey is a sport there, but it would probably be the silver medalist every time out. Flag football does level the playing field because you don't need 52 guys. I think the roster is like 10 guys. Well, there are a lot of countries that have 2 or 3 NFL players or it can field 10 guys who have played organized football before.
Yeah, but here's the thing too, is it's going to create incentive for those countries to start actually putting a focus on football. Like I believe there are European nations like Germany, Sweden, that could put together teams of 53 guys that are athletic enough. It's just they're so far behind on the skill level part of it. Like, you know, they haven't been playing their whole life. But I mean, there's to think that there's not enough athletes is inaccurate, right?
I would think, Joe, that maybe like starting off with flag for the first couple Olympic Games with it is like the introduction drug, right? You know what I mean, though? You start with flag, you get other countries playing, and you start building up, and then eventually when there are enough more people playing globally, then you move to full tackle, right?
Yeah.
And that's like when we talked last summer, and we'll probably talk this summer, how the NFL wants to be FIFA. They want to be FIBA. Like Roger Goodell wants to be in charge of tackle football globally. That's the NFL's biggest dream for world domination. They want to be the governing body for international American football. And look, I don't blame them for that aspiration, because they should have that aspiration. This is how you start getting there. You start doing the games in Europe, and then you have the flag football, which they've been pushing locally in the U.S. on their Play 60 for what, a decade now? So think about it. The NFL is thinking long term. They started pushing flag football about a decade or so ago. Started hosting tournaments for children through adult, and fielding the team for Team USA and pushing it on the international level for there to be something. The NFL is a huge part of it, right? They sponsor it. There's like every international tournament is sponsored by the NFL in some way, shape, or form. Like they have involvement. They're trying to position themselves like, look, FIFA, like how you govern soccer, the NFL, we govern football. And that's what they're trying to do. Now they'll change the name to be the International American Football Association or something like that. But let's be real. It'll be the NFL people who are administering this league, and the commissioner of the NFL will be dual-hatted. He'll be the commissioner of the NFL and the commissioner of this international committee.
Okay. Now I get what you're saying. At first, I thought you were saying that they were going to change the name of the NFL to make that happen. Okay.
No,
I was going to say that just sounds like an absolute fucking disaster.
No, because not the transition is because we can, but it's kind of like you have FIFA, and then like you have the Premiership, you have the Bundesliga, Serie A, La Liga. They still have your national leagues. Under this football construct, it'd be the same thing. You'd have Roger Goodell at the head of the table for the International Football Association, whatever they want to call it, and he's the commissioner of the National League in his country, the NFL. So then you'd have someone else to be the commissioner of NFL or whatever they would call the league, probably the Bundesliga, Germany. Whatever they call their leagues in the respective countries, they'll have their commissioners. And then they have the regions, because that's how you source your big tournaments, is by region, right? So like the U.S., we belong to CONCACAF, which CONCACAF is a strange bird. But when we go to World Cup qualifying, we get X amount of teams come out of CONCACAF that can qualify for World Cup. X amount of teams can qualify out of UEFA, right, which is the European conglomerate. So they see what I'm saying? It breaks down. You have the head of the table, which would be the International American Football Association. Then you have the regionals. So we'd have like a CONCACAF for American football, and then you have your home league. So that's the model the NFL is following. So flag football is a gateway to that. And it's a gateway to growing players and getting people playing any kind of football from zero to playing some type of football. And then the next step from that is getting to play tackle. And what we're doing for that is we're seeing games being played in Sao Paulo, in Madrid, in Munich, in Berlin, in London, in Cork, right? Ireland. I'm sure we'll see a game in Paris at some point, and we'll see a game in Belgium, and we'll see a game in Italy, and because that's what the NFL is doing to grow the brand.
Yeah. And I feel like if they were to take it seriously, like the United States would dominate for the first years probably, because you have to build a program. But I do think that there are nations that could eventually compete with us, like the United Kingdom, for example. I think Germany could put together a team that could be competitive. Like Sweden. I think there's some African that could. I mean, you got these guys that run like marathons or Olympic sprinters. Then you put them out there as a running back or a wide receiver. Like, there's. I think overall it would be good. Look at the rugby playing nations. How many? I mean, they're already practically playing football, and rugby's actually tougher than football. So, but they got no
like
pads, and they're already tackling each other.
Like New Zealand,
So
right?
Australia,
How hard would it in New Zealand for them to take the All Blacks and convert them to a football team? They just got to find a quarterback
and put some pads on them. Like,
yeah, it's skill. The skill position stuff is where they would have a hard time. They'd probably be good at finding linemen, right? But finding your skill position guys. And the thing with the flag football, and I said it yesterday in the article I saw about this when they were talking about the U.S. NFL involvement. The captain of the current U.S. national team's like, we don't need the NFL players to win gold. Like the Team USA, we're good. I mean, so that's going to be interesting too, because I mean, I get it though. You throw, no-name flag football guy who's won 5 world championships on Team USA. Who's going to grab a better headline, that guy or Tyreek Hill?
Oh, not only that, they're good comparative to not having actual NFL players playing with them and against them.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say that's like a Division II school saying, "Oh, what do we need the Division I for?" Look at all the championships we won.
Yeah, but here's the problem,
you
Ken.
Against you and your high kids.
Yeah, but Ken, here's the problem. Is France going to be able to put a Division I football team out there? No. Like the only countries outside of the U.S. who will have a good amount of NFL quality players, who will even at that level be second tier probably, would be Canada, because they do have quite a few guys in the NFL from Canada. If you look at internationally players, like where guys could claim citizenship, it'd probably be U.S. obviously is number one. And then a very far distant second is probably Canada. And then you get the one or two guys from Germany, 1 or 2 guys from Australia, 1 or 2 guys from an African nation.
I was going to say we do have a shit ton of players that were from Africa originally. When I have
but you're talking though, like I wouldn't go that far, Joseph. But I mean, like the guys who are currently on the team could probably beat the NFL, the 1 or 2 teams with 1 or 2 NFL players that they would have, because none of them have Chase Claypool's going to play for Canada. Like that, but that's a good example though. He would play for Canada, right? That's the level of player that Canada would have from the NFL overall. I mean, which is going to be better than what say New Zealand has or Germany probably has. Like, it's great. Germany might have some linemen, but you're not using linemen in flag football. Flag football is more about it's more about the skill position players. They don't have a pass rush. You don't have the trenches in flag football. So Team USA, for the initial, they could get away with not using NFL players for sure. They would do it though, because why? Because having JJ out there, having Justin Jets out there, whatever he nicknamed himself, out there versus Joe Blow from Idaho, grabs more attention on NBC when they're doing Olympic game coverage.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not that he's just going to grab more attention. He's a hell of a lot higher skill.
But in the interest of parity, you could make a rule like where you can't use professionals for at least, to give other countries a chance to become competitive. Like we can use, like, let's say you can use up to like Division I college players that are, although college players are now being paid too, I guess. But my point is that, like, you don't have to necessarily. I know it draws more ratings, but in the interest of parity, for the sake of the sport actually lasting in the Olympics, otherwise the United States is just going to wipe the floor with everybody. But I do believe if you give them years, like countries will start, like Russia will start to take it seriously, and they'll invest the money and the time into going out, hiring good international coaches. They'll, and it takes time to train a generation of kids, because right now kids are training for boxing or they're training for other Olympic sports. If football is an option, now all of a sudden you can start them at 5 years old, 6 years old, playing Pop Warner. Like, you can develop Pop Warner leagues and stuff like that.
And get that's the NFL's goal. I think that's the NFL's goal, Joseph. Really, I think that the gateway drug is flag football. That's why they've been pushing it for the last decade. That's the gateway drug, and they get them playing flag, and then they transition them to full contact, and that's been their plan, and they've been very good about executing it. I think it's a 10-person roster. I think that they capped it to. They did put a cap on how many NFL players could be on the squad. But I think it was more per NFL roster. So
there you go.
And I think those you can't have more than, let's say, 2 guys from your team. From let's say you can't have more than 2 guys from, let's say, Cincinnati on Team USA. There's nothing that says you couldn't have 2 from Cincinnati on Team USA, 1 on Team Canada, 1 on Team Australia, right? So I mean, but the talent level for these nation states is going to be nothing. It's going to be like the '96 Barcelona, when the Dream Team went over there and played basketball against Croatia, which they had Tony Kukoc, and he put up a good game, but the rest of the team couldn't even hang, right? That's what it's going to be when they were winning by like 30 points. Well, this will be flag football where Team USA might win by, 10 scores,
Can I just throw out there, too, that I think, in the immediate term, the United States is going to dominate, right? But if other countries actually put in the investment and try to build real teams, it's going to be good for the NFL in the long run, too, because right after the Olympics, the NFL is going to be like, hey, let's go snatch all these international players that gave us, that gave our players problems. It's going to be a great recruiting tool for the NFL.
Look what happened in the NBA. I mean, Tony Kukoc was really the first player after that night or the Barcelona Olympics with the Dream Team. The Bulls went out and drafted Kukoc right away, right? And now look at the NBA. How many international players? When you watch the Olympics, it's like an NBA. All the games are like NBA games. Like every nation state has at least the starting 5 is in the NBA.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so the NFL, that's what they want to see 4 or 5 Olympic games down the road when I'm in my 70s. They want, it to be a bunch of NFL guys for all these countries. And that's their long-term plan. And they want to be the guys, because Goodell's already trying to do this with the Olympic Committee, telling the Olympic Committee what they can and can't do, and the NFLPAs too, which I find hilarious. But that should tell you they want to position themselves as the FIFA or the FIBA or the whatever the hockey one is, the international governing body for American tackle football. The NFL, the guys who run the NFL, they want to be the guys who run it for the entire planet.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like you said, Tony Kukoc, Sabonis, Drazen Petrovic. Those were like 3 of the first big international players to come over and really be good.
Yeah.
And the key, just taking a page out of how the basketball spread to different countries, and now how there's so many, some of the best players in the league are now foreign players in the NBA. The key is going to be having coaches willing to, coaches moving to these different countries and setting up shop and coaching these players up. And, I think Joe said it's going to take a generation or 2, but, you got to get that coaching overseas. And you got to get it in these kids at a young age. And then, 20 years from now, could be a different ball game. There could be a lot of, foreign players in the league.
Well, Broski, thinking of coaching, think about the doors that open up for guys now who, let's say Mike Holmgren, let's say he retires from the NFL. Now he goes and mentors in Europe or somewhere. And that's just a revenue stream for them without having to actually be the pressures of an NFL coach. So you're going to have, there's a lot more opportunity coaching wise. And look, all these coaches are going to be American to start. Yep. Right. So you're going to get these Division IIA schools, where these or NIA guys, they're going to bolt and go to Europe and coach because they're still good coaches for fundamentals. And that's what they need. Right. I mean, you're going to get a lot of coaches that are going to bolt from the collegiate system and some of the coaches from the NFL system. You're the assistant running backs coach for the Denver Broncos, but now you can be the running backs coach for Stuttgart. You're going to go to Stuttgart and take that position and grow your chops to come back to the NFL, to the big show. And we saw that when they did NFL Europe back in the day. You saw some older coaches who were getting ready to retire who went over, and some younger coaches that earned their chops at NFL Europe and then came back. And NFL Europe really wasn't a failure as much as the NFL decided to switch course and end it, because there are some good players that came out of NFL Europe. There's some good coaches who got their chops in NFL Europe.
Yeah, and I think right now in the NFL, you kind of see like a mini version of that with like the Polynesian community. I think there has been a couple generations now where like, hey, there's been some, Polynesian players in the league and they go back and coach and they're coaching young kids up. And I think, that's kind of like the model that will have to happen with other countries to get them involved as well.
I mean, now Sarah can find, can go follow JJ to, some exotic country where he's in a coach and track him down to become the baby mama.
So also, like, you have the national teams that like will be poaching from the United States coaching. Like, you might get a guy who's coaching a D1 school and all of a sudden he's the head coach for the Russian national team or
that's
for the
sure
German national team.
No,
Ken's laughing, but I mean, it's
no. That's why I'm laughing
because look at you can already see that the examples of that in hockey and soccer. These coaches get they hold no national allegiance to coach a national team. Sometimes you get a national team coach, even in soccer, which is very nationalist. You'll get a head coach for a national team, guys from Uruguay, but he's coaching the Mexican national team. You're like, but they don't care as long as they speak. I mean, Jurgen Klinsmann transformed U.S. soccer. He's a German national citizen, won a World Cup on the German national team. His wife is American. That's about the closest thing you got for him. But let's be honest, the guy's a German citizen. He's still not. Now he's back involved with the German national team. So, I mean, that happens all the time in international sports at that level. And, yeah, I mean, the head coaches for all the international teams, especially initially, if it's tackle, would all be American almost. For flag, there might already be, because they've been doing this now, pushing it for well over a decade. They've been having these competitions. There are probably some decent coaches in flag for these other countries, but because remember, flag's a little bit different game. There are no trenches. It's basically a skill player show. So I mean, there are probably some crossover. I bet there's some NFL guys already involved in Team USA coaching and maybe in some of the other coaching, because the NFL's been pushing this globally. Like, they got it. They understood the assignment. They're growing their brand, and they started easy. Flag football is easy because, the problem with tackle football is this: equipment costs are exorbitant. And so, like, why is soccer so popular? Why is basketball so popular globally? They're cheap sports. You don't need much. You need a ball. Like for soccer, you literally just need a ball. You don't even need a goal, because you can take 2 rocks and make that the goal, right? Like, seriously. I mean, we've all did it as kids. For basketball, you need a hoop, which you can fabricate one out of a basket and a pole, and you can make a hoop. I mean, it won't be an NBA hoop, but still something you can shoot with, right? Hockey, it gets prohibitive because of cost. Football gets really prohibitive because of cost of equipment. So flag football is cheap because all you need is a football, some flags, and a field. It's at the cheapest level of football is flag. And you got a lot of countries where they don't have the money. Like, do you think the Nigerian government has the money to put into an actual American football system? No. But flag football, yeah, it's cheap. So it's a good gateway drug. And now as they start making money off flag, now they can make an investment into tackle and developing those programs at every level. Because football is an expensive sport.
Could you imagine you have like the Japanese national team and their whole offensive line is sumo wrestlers? And I'm not even saying that joking, because like sumo wrestlers are tremendous athletes. They're very strong.
Yeah,
it wouldn't take much to teach them how to block, dude.
I was going to say they damn near block when they're doing sumo anyway.
So that would be good in the interior, but I don't know how they would fare against, like, how would they fare against like an edge rusher like Myles Garrett? I'm like, he would just blow right around.
How do NFL tackles fare against them? Not too well either.
Yeah, but I mean, you're talking though mobility wise, though it would be good in the interior, but not the exteriors of the line.
Yeah, I mean, sumo wrestlers, they know how to play with leverage, and that's the key to football.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I would actually like to see Myles Garrett try to pass rush on a sumo wrestler. Like, he might do better than the offensive tackles. Like, you never know.
What was it last year? It was a small documentary. It was, what's his name? The quarterback. I'm brain fart names. Quarterback from the Texans. He went over there to Japan, and it was another NFL player went with him. Maybe it was what's his name from the Cowboys went over. and they did this whole tour of Japan thing, and they did an episode where the two of them had a sumo wrestle, and they were both blown away by how hard it was and how athletic and they got pushed back. I mean, I think one of them did okay, but they got pushed back, and they were surprised, and people would be surprised by that, Joe. And it's not they do drink lots of beer, and sake, but I mean that would the Japanese. But it's funny though, you could throw in the Japanese national team all day because they don't have a cornerback that's taller than 5'6".
Yeah, but that's something to talk about, right? Like before the Olympics, people were like, I mean, yeah, they don't have any receivers, but how are you going to get through that offensive line, dude? Like, you know what I mean? Like, their offensive line is 2,000 pounds. Like,
hey, Stair, I knew that. After being in Korea, I knew that. And you should, if you haven't tried it, try different snacks. Try octopus jerky.
I was going to say, Sarah, you're just discovering seaweed?
Yeah.
What the?
Well, Sarah said she was sad earlier. What's she sad about? I didn't get to ask. What is Sarah sad about?
Either her Timberwolves or her show.
Who's buzzing?
Yeah, I was going to say, too, like another aspect of the whole flag football movement here that we didn't really touch on, but I think it's going to be a lot bigger than what people think is the whole like Me Too movement thing and integrating women in with men's sports. I think that's going to be something they're going to go out of their way to try to do, to try to like.
Go ahead, Broski. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, like, I just think that's going to be like part of the agenda of flag football, like being like, hey, Becky's out there with, Tyreek Hill, and she can hold her own, and let's. Did you see Candace lock down like that? Japanese slot receiver or something like that. Like it's gonna be. They're gonna. That's just a prediction. I think they're gonna try to pump that up.
Isn't though, Broski, isn't that already part of it? Because they make girls a big part of Play 60 in the flag football movement. I mean. They're pushing the women's version of the sport pretty hard. The NFL is, aren't they?
I honestly really don't know.
Which is why they should keep it separate. They should have a men's group and a women's group.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because at the Super Bowl they brought out the flag football champions for the kids, and they had a boys and a girls division. So, and if you look at the Play 60 commercials, they prominently feature female flag football players. The NFL, because look at the NFL also knows that the female market, believe it or not, is their biggest market, share. We all think, it's just the men who want football. You know who they sell the most jerseys to? Women. When they started doing the female cut jerseys, they outsold the men jerseys. The women buy the stuff.
I think that's partially because there weren't female jerseys for a long time.
Maybe.
And then you got the huge explosion of everybody that wanted one can finally get one.
But they're a massive market share because, look at men will buy a jersey and a ball cap usually, right? The women will buy the jersey, the nightgown, the nightie, right? The PJ. They'll buy the earrings, the necklaces, the wrist bangles, the whatever the other little wrist thing like the Pandora stuff. But men, we buy a jersey, a hat, maybe a gold chain with a team emblem on it. At best for jewelry, because there's some guys who buy a team emblem, necklace or something. But the women spend a lot more money. I mean, we'll buy sweatshirts and T-shirts.
I was going to say, pretty much everything they make in Green Bay for men's stuff, I have But
the women, there's more. If you look at the website, I think you'll be surprised. There are more stuff geared specifically for the women to buy than there is for the men. Why? Because marketing. They know they're going to buy it. And the NFL has definitely been marketing flag football to women huge because they want to get more girls involved. That's why they love the whole Taylor Swift thing with Travis Kelce, because it brought all these young girl Swifties into football. And then they push flag football with it. I mean, look at the NFL. We can say whatever we want to say about Roger Goodell, that he's a dirtbag, that he's a scumbag, that we don't like the way he does things. He's too woke, whatever, fine. We can say that and probably be correct on about 99.9% of it. But Roger Goodell is a was brilliant in the terms of how they've marketed the game to new audiences, women and internationally. They've been nothing short of phenomenal in their marketing strategy, especially with flag football. And then you top that on with the international game series. The NFL has been very smart, and they're pushing flag football. I would not be surprised if there was not a women's division of Olympic flag football in the games that follow 28. I know there's a men's version for 28, but is there a women's flag football for 28? I don't think so. But I wouldn't be surprised if in 32 there's women's flag footballs added to the schedule to go with the men.
I think they're just going to put a few women on the men's team, though. And Joe, like, get ready for all the headlines when this is about to happen. They're going to be like, Cindy so-and-so, she holds her own against professional NFL players, and she holds her own against the men, and she's just as good as the men. They're going to take that to another level, and it's going to get very annoying.
I don't think they can do it. They're going to do that in Olympics, because the Olympics have a policy men competing against women in contact sports or in sports in general like that. That's why you don't see them on the basketball team or the hockey team. I think that they'll have their own division, but let me find out if there's going to be a women's division. Hold on.
Yeah, I was going to say, Sarah, seaweed, eating seaweed, like salty, crispy, good alternative to eating chips or something like that for sure.
Personally, I actually would laugh my ass off to watch Becky get torched by Tyreek Hill, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't even be funny.
Or a little Japanese guy or something like that.
Yeah.
Because according to JB, Japan.
I stand corrected. So Broski, your scenario just got shot down, unfortunately. Yes, flag football will be included in the 2028 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles and will feature both men and women's events. The International Olympic Committee approved flag football as one of 5 additional sports added to the 2028 Olympics program in fall of 2023. So there will be a women's division and a men's division, so they're going to keep them separate.
Good. It's more entertaining.
And look at that. That makes sense because the NFL has been pushing it to young girls to play flag football as part of Play 60 program, and they've highlighted the girls in their commercials. Remember when they did the NFL 100 commercial? They had the women's flag football champ. She was from the women's flag football team. They had her on the commercial with the NFL guys. They've been pushing women involvement in flag football for years now, as they've been pushing flag football. In 2028 is a combination of that, and then the next level is to get all these people playing tackle, having a women's tackle women's tackle football. I mean, you have the WNBA. Why not the WNFL? That's going to happen too eventually. Look, that's what the NFL has grand plans. They want to be the governing body for tackle football across the globe. They want to have professional programs in tackle football for men and women globally that they can somehow control. And I think they want, if they can, have professional flag football leagues too. Why not?
That would be so dope. A women's tackle football league. You got Sandy, the center, who's like 320 pounds. Like, dude.
I mean, because the attempts at America, there is semi-pro professional football. One of my former soldiers from unit I commanded, she played for the Jacksonville team for years. She was a linebacker for Jacksonville, full tackle, right? So there are some women tackle football programs out there that are semi-pro. And then you've had like the stupid stuff like the indoor lingerie league, right, for arena football and stuff like that. But dude, some of them women, you watch those lingerie league games and they hit. Like, they may be wearing lingerie, but don't let that fool you. They'll kill you. And the women who play that complain because, unlike the men, they're getting rug burns from getting tackled and dragged on the turf, and they're like, I'm in a bikini, and a bikini and pads. Like, really? I mean, those women are tough.
I was gonna say, man, you know what would be more interesting to me is like women's Olympic sport, cooking. Yeah, like I got a gold medal in baking. I got a gold medal in cooking. I would be like, yeah, man. I bet you.
Who can make the best to play? I mean, what now? Gordon Ramsay can't be an Olympic medalist for the men. I mean, come on. I don't even know.
I know the U.S. women would lose in cooking. for sure.
Yeah, hey, Broski, Joseph has a comment there for you based on that one.
The women vote now? Yeah, unfortunately, right, Joseph?
And have you seen the decline in our country since that point?
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
But Sarah, go ahead. And Sarah's going to be like, you all have a target on your head now from Sarah, just so you know she's getting ready to take that shit.
I mean, there's a chance Sarah can cook. I mean, but actually, probably not if she's just discovering seaweed snacks right now. Probably not.
Wow. So yeah, I mean, we can see where this is going. Though I just want, I wonder how they're going to do the selection process, or when I have to look into it more. But so the Olympic Games are in 3 years. Usually, a year or two out is when they do the pre-tournament tournament, right? The Olympic qualifying tournament. I'm wondering, because it's probably such a small market. I'm wondering if there you go. There you go, Sarah. No stereotypes here.
No, we embrace the stereotypes here.
Well, I was going to say that's how
I'm a good
learned
old
how to
Sicilian
cook.
boy. Cooking is definitely in my DNA.
I'm wondering though, are there enough nation states playing even flag where they need to have a pre-qualifying tournament, or are there only 10 countries that actively play, and they're like, you 10 are just in, and there's no pre-qualifying tournament for LA? So, but you got to figure. So the selection process, the NFL will make a huge deal about that. That'll be big news when they do the selection day. They'll probably have some ESPN special where they can announce the players and do this big, huge thing with it, right? But I mean, look, it's marketing. Right?
I totally get what you're saying. And the whole fucking eye roll that I just did is because I can see it coming to fruition. And that's the last thing we need is another fucking special designed where we're just picking names out of a hat. How fucking entertaining is that?
They're gonna do it up like the NBA did the Dream Team, and they're following that model, and they're gonna do it up and get max exposure and money out of it, because then they're gonna be selling Team USA football jerseys at the NFL shop, the official partner of Team USA. And you see what I'm saying? Like, they're going to be doing all of that. And so you figure about maybe a year to a year and a half out from them announcing that team. Like, I wouldn't be surprised, not at the end of this season, but maybe at the end of the 26th season, after the Super Bowl, a couple weeks later, they'll have the big announcement thing so they can do summer training together, blah, 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 and then have friendly games that will be televised in June and July, right? More revenue. And they're gonna play it up huge and coming into the 28 Olympics. So I would say for 27, for summer 27, they're playing games that are televised, and of course Olympics in 28. So it wouldn't surprise me if after the 26th season, you get some kind of announcement. At the latest, after the 27 NFL season, they'll announce the team. Well, I know after the 27 NFL season is the Olympics. That's summer of 28, actually, if you think about it, because this one ends in the winter of 26. So probably maybe after the end of this football season, after this next Super Bowl, I would not be surprised if they announce a team that will then play in the summer of 27, right? And then in 28. So maybe after the 26th season, actually. After the 26th season concludes, so February of 27, in March of 27, before the draft, they announce the team, and then they'll play their qualifiers and friendlies in the summer, which they'll max televise, and then they'll have the Olympics the following summer.
I'll tell you what. I mean, I would buy my lady a Team USA Betty Crocker jersey if they came out with that as an Olympic sport. Cooking.
Olympic vacuuming.
Oh, Joe, yes.
9.4,
There you
9.6,
go,
9.4.
You want that goal? You want to win something? There you go. We'll make the Detroit Lions our flag football team.
Joe, that pot roast was a 9.8.
9.7, 9.4, 9.7.
I mean,
the potatoes were a little undercooked, but the pot roast itself was amazing.
I think we'll find, though, like with this flag football thing, like Broski was saying, though, there'll be more. We'll see an elevation of the women's game. I'm wondering, though. Honestly, I'm wondering how long it'll take for there to be a WNFL. You got to figure that's in the game plan.
It probably is with the way the NFL is trying to expand every which way possible. I just wonder, are they going to stretch it too thin to where it's going to start drawing less interest? Think of it kind of like the USFL and arena football and all.
Well, I mean, they got other sports they can look at, though, because, like, look at the NBA. Like, the WNBA failed for almost a decade until basically Caitlin Clark showed up, right? But Caitlin Clark is a product of those early failings and then pushing basketball to women. But the NBA didn't push basketball to women the way the NFL is with flag, right? They didn't do – they didn't really push the women's game as much. I think college pushed it more for the WNBA. And eventually the women's game grew on its own without the NBA's grand scheme, right? But I think the NFL is trying to take a more hands-on approach by pushing the flag football and pushing for there to be more women inclusion in a form of football, right, where they can grow it. So, like, a WNFL is probably 30 years away, longer than it would say a professional football, men's football in other countries. It's further away than that because they are literally starting from less than scratch, right?
Hey, broski, I was thinking if cooking was an event, the gold medalist would be like some 4'11" grandmother from Oaxaca, Mexico.
Yeah, I was gonna say most likely Vietnam.
There's some Sicilian grandmothers back in the Cape and Sicily that would like
the grandmothers would win all. Trust me, all the winning cooks would be like these old grandmas because Nana always has the best cooking. So let's
I was gonna say, Joe, Italy,
my
Sicily.
grandmother from Sicily could cook.
But we can probably get off the cooking so we don't get you guys canceled, okay?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that.
We're not a cooking show, we're football.
I would definitely put Vietnam up there.
But I mean, I think they are pushing, though, for a women's NFL at some point. Flag football, once again, is the gateway. Look how hard the NFL is pushing young girls into flag. I mean, that's the gateway, right? Because the first step is you get them falling in love with the game. Because, like, look at us. Kids, what did we do as boys? We played flag, and we played two-hand touch, and we were playing football, and because we were watching the NFL game. There's nothing for the girls to aspire to. Well, you start out with flag and under play 60, right? Under the guise of make kids more active, which they should be, which is a good, healthy thing the NFL did. But you introduce girls to playing flag, introduce them to getting to watching NFL games. Then, wait, we can play flag. Why can't we put on pads and helmets? And now all of a sudden you've got Pop Warner girls leagues. And I'm sure there are some Pop Warner girls leagues out there already. And you start building up that base of talent. We're already seeing women coaches in the NFL. We're seeing women officials in the NFL. I mean, this is all how they're moving because the NFL knows how to make money, if nothing else. Look how many women coaches. Don't we have like a woman president of operations for one of the NFL teams? Or I don't think we have a woman GM yet. But wasn't there like a woman assistant GM or a female president of operations for one of the teams that was this offseason?
The Raiders.
Yeah, there we go.
The Raiders actually have a black woman team president.
There you go. I mean, so that's the NFL has been very specific in targeting these demographics because they know they're going to make their money and they're going to grow the game. So I think flag football in the Olympics is just the next level of doing that. On the men's side, they are doing that in tandem with all the international games that we're playing now. How many is it this year? 8, 9 international games this year? I mean, it's gone up a game almost every year or every other year. This year we added 2 new destinations, right? Ireland and Spain. Last year we added Brazil, and a couple years before that we added Germany. So now we're playing games in England, Ireland, Germany, Brazil, and Spain. We went away from Mexico because of security concerns because he's playing Mexico City, right? And now they're talking about playing. Where was it? There was in Asia. Was it Asia next year or something like that?
I just want to know when we're going to end up playing the Martian Bulldogs.
Well, first Elon has to colonize Mars, and then they have to grow a football program there. And that away game takes you, 6 months to get to? And you can only go every 2 years. So it's going to be really hard for those away games for that team, I'm telling you.
God. I can understand expanding and all that, but you might start to run into that expanding a little too much too quick.
Well, they're being kind of slow about it, though. Look how slow the Europe build has been. It's been over a decade that they've been adding the games and building it. I think, and look at every game sells out in Europe. Everywhere they go, they sell out games. So they've been building that up and building a fan base of teams. That's why, like the Packers, their big fan base, one of their big international fan bases, well, for gang reasons, but with Sao Paulo because of their team colors. But like regionally, though, teams have certain regions that the NFL tells them to push. So like you go to Germany,
got a huge market in Canada.
Yeah, I mean, like you go to Germany, like when I was in Munich, they were pushing 4 teams: Chicago, the Colts, was it the Steelers and Green Bay or something like that? They're pushing 4 teams. Every team has a little area that they're told, hey, push your merch and push your stuff in. The Kansas City Chiefs have had an agreement with Bayern Munich for over a decade. That's 2, an American football team and a Bundesliga, the biggest team in Germany, with agreements, and they do stuff together all the time that they see in Germany more than we see here in the States. The NFL's been very smart with forming partnerships in these countries, and that's why we're seeing when they do add a game to Paris, that game then to play at Paris Saint-Germain at their stadium will sell out in Paris. And that's why you see these games like in Europe and on the sideline is Ronaldo or Messi or Beckham on the sideline chit-chatting with Tom Brady. Did you look when Ronaldo was chit-chatting with Tom Brady on the sideline? Don't think that happened by happenstance. That was planned. Why? Ronaldo has more followers on every social media platform than anyone on the planet by a massive. Like, I'm sorry, Tay-Tay, she's got nothing on Ronaldo. He's got more followers than anyone on the planet. So him talking to Tom Brady on the sideline, and all of a sudden it's on Instagram and X, that's by design. That's by design. The NFL is very, very smart. Oh, hey, Broski, you've got I guess we're going to have to do a show. Yeah, hey, Bill, you can. I'll let you know what the signing fees and the COA fees and the shipping fees are for Broski.
I was going to say I rock for a fee, not for free.
Yeah, we may not be fanatics. We're even worse. So, what's Fanatics charge for a rookie Broski on a mini helmet? $450. Well, Broski's not a rookie, so that's like a $700 mini helmet. Sorry. Yep. We'll get you a signed lid. Like I said, we're better than Fanatics. We're here for the fan, so we'll charge you $700.
Oh, geez, John Thorne. Whoa.
Oh, there's an inside joke that goes with that.
Oh, I know. I was on that episode.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I forgot you.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, interesting stuff. I agree, Ken. They got to be careful not to grow too quick, too fast.
Otherwise, you're going to oversaturate the market.
Yeah.
And people are just going to cease to care. It's going to be, you're just shoving this down our throats. All right, fuck that.
But I think they've been pretty measured in their approach, right? Like they've been building this flag football thing for well over a decade. They've been building the international NFL slate over a decade.
I'm not against how they have been doing it. It just seems now that they're starting to ramp it up a bit, and I worry that they're going to ramp up too much with it.
Like for the American audience, I don't think like we did. The UFL doesn't draw a big audience, right? But internationally, I don't think they're going to try to ramp up flag football in the U.S. in terms of a league, maybe. I think flag football is more of a gateway to get people put on pads and a helmet, right? But internationally, they're definitely trying to gear up to get leagues in other countries going. So at what point do you think they're ready to do that? Like, are we talking they're 5 years, 10 years out from
I'm thinking somewhere in the in between 5 and 10 year range. That way you can drip feed this. You get people to where the anticipation's there of, we know we're going to eventually get one. That way when it does come, people are excited about it instead of, Oh, well, here it is.
Well, and Broski, I think the NFL learned from NFL Europe. Like NFL Europe wasn't a bad product, and the design of NFL Europe was to get international players playing. And let's be honest, it did work to a small extent, right? And we have a bigger influx of international players that came in, that learned through that process of about a decade or so ago, a little bit longer. But it didn't really work because it was mostly a bunch of Americans playing. I think now they're trying to grow it more organically in these countries, and they'll be more successful the next time around.
Yeah, no, I hear you with that. And I mean, if they're really interested, I mean, I know it's like mostly a money thing, but if they really do want to get some new players from other countries in the league and actually have them be decent players, I would really like plant some seeds in like the Baltic countries like Lithuania and stuff like that. I mean, you got like just big, strong people there. And the NBA had a number of NBA players from Lithuania as well. So you have some athletic dudes too. Vilnius, Lithuania. Let's go. Let's have a game there.
Yeah, I mean, I think this year we added Madrid, right? So we had Spain and we added Ireland to the mix. I think the next obvious steps for them. I think Paris has been mentioned as a market they're going to hit, and I think at some point you're going to hit like Warsaw. Like they'll go to Poland, they'll start moving towards the Baltics. They'll hit Warsaw, they'll go to Poland, maybe the former Czech Republic. They might do a game in Italy, right? I mean, they're going to start expanding it to these big European cities. And look, they've been smart because the games they've been doing now, like in Germany and England, there's U.S. bases there. In Germany, they're U.S. bases in England, Air Force bases. So they know they've got Americans that are going to go to these games anyways. Think about it. You're an airman assigned to an air base in England or Germany, and there's going to be an NFL game. Dude, that's the hottest ticket on base. Everyone's going to try to go because the only way they get to watch games is like on AFN. They're like, wow, I can actually go see a live game, and if it happens to be my team, even better. So, that was part of the marketing when they originally started the international games for the NFL was they put in places where the United States had military bases. So they knew they'd get American fans there and their families. And then and people that work on base and expats that retired in the military and stayed in those countries to be civilian government employees on those bases. They knew they had built-in fan base. And now they've grown that base amongst the locals in London and in Germany and these other places. So they're definitely taking a measured approach, and flag football is just another component of that. And they understand because, like, if they have NFL players in flag football and the NFL players come out and drub the world like the Dream Team did back in the day, the world is going to respond, and they're going to start putting money into their programs to catch the U.S. and start producing football players. And we'll start to see more wide receivers and cornerbacks and safeties and running backs and quarterbacks coming out of these international programs than we have now. It expands the market. And then eventually, you'll see this happen with a pro tackle football league in England or in Germany or a Europa league or some, you might not be able to have enough to do a league just in England. It might have to be a league where it's England, Germany, like they did NFL Europe. And each country kind of like has a national team or, a couple, maybe there's a team in Frankfurt, there's a team in Munich, there's a team in London, something like that. But that's what they're moving towards. And they want that to be mostly organic talent.
Yep. Lots of hard hitting mother effers whose last name ends in ski. That's all I'll say. The people are strong like bull.
Yeah.
Plant some seeds there.
That's where this flag football thing is going. That's why the NFL has been so adamant about getting into the Olympics and adding NFL players. It's all part of their bigger growth plan. I know fans, we have some intrepidation about, well, I don't want my star guy playing on a flag football team because of injury. But first off, the guy wants to win a gold medal because how many guys say they want a gold medal? And the NFL wants them out there because they want to push the product. We're irrelevant in this scenario because they've already got us. Hell, we're here 5 days a week or more talking football. They've got us hook, line, and sinker. They can treat us like a redhead stepchild. We won't care. They've proven it. They've proven it with some of the crap they've pulled, and yet we're still here. So this isn't a bridge too far for them to go. No one's going to stop being an NFL fan because because Tyreek Hill is playing on the national team and might get hurt.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it is that time. We
Yep.
want to thank everybody for watching. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for Broski and Joe for being on. Have yourselves a wonderful rest of the day. We'll see you tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow. Bear down.
Go Pack, go.
Blow, Pack, blow. We got it.